Murray Burns from Misex. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Good to be here. Thank you.
You guys played Selena's, I believe, on the weekend with the Angels and Dragon. How did that show go?
Yeah, yeah, and also Disgraceland, who are a kind of a punky take on Elvis.
Okay.
And they were good. They were really good, actually. Yeah, it was a great night. It was. I didn't realize Selena's was so. I mean, we used to play there in the 20 years ago or more,
Yeah.
but there was like 1,700 people there.
Wow.
It's a big room. Yeah, it just goes on and on. It was a great night. you know, Dragon had, 10, probably played 10 sing-along songs. And I don't think Mark Williams needed to sing once
Yeah.
because they just have those songs that, the crowd just want to be part of. And then we do our thing. And I watched the Angels do 4 songs. And, the Angels are the Angels. They're just, it was for the audience, 3 bands playing really well-known Australian songs that are over 40 years old. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing, really.
Yeah. Of course, sadly, all three bands no longer have their charismatic.
I know. And how's this? You've got Mark Hunter being replaced by Mark Williams. You've got Steve Gilpin being replaced by Steve Belby. And you did have Doc Neeson being replaced by Dave Gleason. So they're all, I just occurred to me one day, I'm going through them, their names are all so similar.
So it was
And
meant to be.
what's that?
It was meant to be.
Yeah, kind of. But Nick is doing a great job. He's actually a fantastic guitar player and singer who's fronting the Angels now. And, as you know, Greg was been their drummer for the last, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, just keep chugging on. Literally, jing,
So
jing, 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 jing.
when you think back at Steve Gilpin, what comes to mind immediately?
For me,
Yeah.
well, I'm now seeing because I'm now a lot older than Steve was when we lost him. Um I'm now seeing what an amazing baritone male singer Steve was because I've been so used to hearing Steve Belby sing these songs live on stage for, I don't know, we've been doing it for 7 or 8 years.
Mm.
And when I hear Blue Day, on the radio, or I hear one of our songs with Steve Gilpin singing, I'm just completely floored by what a beautiful baritone tone Steve had. He was not a songwriter, but he was an incredible singer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, especially when I hear Blue Day, I just about tear up every time. It's just the most incredible. That captured the real Steve Gilpin, that song.
I used to see you guys a lot at Bombay Rock. What are your memories of that venue?
Oh, yeah, God, that was such a great room to play. Yeah, we played there. We would play there and Chasers it felt like every 2 months we were down there
Mm.
playing. It was just such a great room. Um, Remember we played with the Reels and Polly were hanging around doing the sound check and he had a bat under his a baby bat under his leather jacket. And he gave it to me, and I walked into our dressing room, and all the guys were waiting for our turn to do a sound check. And I flipped open the bat with the wings. It just freaked everyone out. It was a very funny, one of those funny little moments that I love to think about. But yeah, I love playing at Bombay Rock, and I just would love afterwards. There'd be 50 of us going out to St Kilda, for late dinner, and we'll all be up till 3 in the morning, just having a great time. Incredible, great memories.
Yeah. Reason we're talking is because you're part of this unique 2-day festival at Doncaster Shoppingtown Hotel
Yeah,
called WANSTOCK. Do you
yeah,
enjoy these multi-band gigs where you do get to hang out with other bands?
yeah. Some of them are. some of them you don't even really get to communicate with the other players until after everyone's done their thing.
Yeah.
Monday and Birds Will Bash, that they're an incredible vibe because we've all flown somewhere. You're on the plane and you go, God, if this plane went down, there's like 50 of the most well-known artists on the plane.
Yeah.
And you're all staying in the same place as well at the same time. And you have a great, really camaraderie, great time hanging out, and you probably really get to have a proper chat. Whereas quite often the other ones, one on one, you'll chat with people and form friendships that you didn't have in the past. And you go, oh, I think he was a real wanker, and you realize that you were the wanker, or you realize that you're all just the same, doing that, having a go, and nowadays everyone just leaves their egos if they've still got one. They leave them at home. It's much more relaxed and much more fun.
Yeah. Did you play the Shoppingtown Hotel back in the day? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't know. I remember being thrown in a helicopter, and we did all these shopping center runs, and there was thousands of kids there to meet us, and we'd get on a stage and go, "Oh, hi," for about half an hour. Then we'd sign, and they'd give away prizes to people that had won, and then we'd jump in the helicopter and fly to another Doncaster shopping center or wherever we went. I don't remember playing shopping centers. Is that answering your question, Greg?
Yeah, kind of. Well, it's Shoppingtown Hotel, which is opposite the
Oh, okay. I'm with you. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
so when you guys came over to Australia from New Zealand, you had success fairly quick, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. It was yeah, a lot. We were surprised, and I mean, two things happened. We got spotted by Peter Dawkins, who was also a New Zealander, but he loved Steve's voice, and he recognised that Steve had a great radio voice, and we arrived here with probably four original songs, but we came here specifically to try and be a recording band, and particularly Don, Steve, and Kevin had been touring New Zealand as artists. I was a bit younger, and I was playing a residency gig in Wellington in a club, and I was having a great time. I was quite happy, but when they said we're going to go to Australia, do you want to come join the band? Kevin and I, he came and stayed where I was living in Wellington, and we wrote songs. So the day we met, we wrote a song, and so I just went. I've never had this experience of writing before, and so I had this relationship with someone, and I was there. I just wanted to go. I went from making pretty good money to living out on cauliflowers and Cindy, and so the one thing that happened was Peter Dawkins came and saw us and signed us to CBS Records, which was a major coup at the time to be signed by a label. And then we put out our first album, But You Don't Care was a great song, and it charted around the country. And I think, Steve's voice was a massive part of that. But then the other thing that happened was the album was out, and Kevin and I one wet Sunday morning came up with the whole computer games thing. Well, Steve, we were all living in the same house. Steve walked into my bedroom. Kevin and I were doing it. He went, "I want a bit of that," and so Steve wrote the third verse in it. And but the album we'd already recorded Graffiti Crimes. That was out, but we bought a sequencer so we could do the bass line in the song, and all the CBS staff came to see us play at the Stage Door Tavern, and we did that song as an encore. And they had sold or shipped 6,000 copies of the album, and they recalled them all and put us in the studio that week and we recorded computer games, and they re-released the album with computer games on it, and by November it had gone to number one. It was, such a quirky melody, and it's just everything about it just was the right timing for that kind of song, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two things happened within that 6 month period of 1979.
Yeah. And I guess Countdown was a big part of the awareness of the band.
Yeah, well, totally it was. Yeah, yeah. In fact, Greg, the other day I went through it, and we did, and that was the power of CBS Records. We did 14 appearances on Countdown. 14.
Huh?
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
And the interesting thing for us was, we formed in 77, but by 1983, after we'd toured America and we came back here, Steve Steve was 30 by then. Steve wanted to have a family, and he was a man of the land and a man with his hands. He he bought a property up in Byron Bay, in the hinterland, and and Don and Adele, Don's lovely wife, and that family, they bought a property up here as well. And I went, okay, I really wanted us to stay in America, and so did Kevin Stanton. And we knew if we stayed there, things could have happened. And the record company and management, FBI management, they all said you need to be here, which is what In Excess did. They basically were there 6 months a year of every year. And I kind of went, we'll have more time here playing, but we basically just slowed down, and everyone just went and did their own thing. So that was a very short period for the Misex story. 90 in Australia, 1978 till 1983, we stopped playing. So all the kids that saw us on Countdown when they were 18, there was no Misex to go and see. We'd stopped playing. So the bands, like your churches and Ice House and Angels, and everyone was still playing. And we stopped and we started again with a different singer because Steve died in a car accident in 1992. We started playing again in 2014, I think, or I don't know, it was 10 years ago, with wonderful Steve Belby singing.
Yeah.
And that was we just did that purely for fun to play. Don just was hanging to play music. Don Martin. And yeah, so it was sort of a short-lived but amazingly incredible time for those 4 years in in the early 80s.
Yeah. So you mentioned the American tour. What are your memories of that? Any interesting stories out of that?
Yeah, it was incredible. We played we did the East Coast and the West Coast, and we did Canada. We played with the Ramones up and down the West Coast, and we played with Iggy Pop. We did our own shows, which we were really well attended. And we did our own shows in New York, which were Hurrahs. We did sold out 2 nights of Hurrahs. We did the Mud Club, which was absolutely packed. Computer games was all over the radio. I never forget driving from a show in Philadelphia into New York, and they'd made a 12-inch computer games, which in those days, a 12-inch was just edit together the song and make it 6 minutes instead of three. And I'd never heard it before. And we're driving into New York, and the highway we're on, you could just see New York appearing. And it was nighttime. It was just, and that song came on, and I'd never heard it before. And I was going, what's going on here? The song's like been going for 5 minutes, repeating over and over and over. And I mean, it was a blast to hear it. And it was a blast to see the New York skyline coming up and going, shit, I'm 23 years old and this is happening. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Um, Probably the best part of the tour was Canada, because Australian bands were really well received then. you could hear Split Ends and Misex and Mental as Anything and Midnight Oil on the radio there. And we, like pulled into Toronto and there's, playing a theatre and there's a queue down the street, it was absolute blast.
Mm.
It was great touring over there. We were nervous, but when we went out and saw American bands when we arrived there, and we went, no, no, we're good. Us Aussie bands are good because we played all the time.
Yeah.
We were on the road. All of us were on the road. So our stagecraft was happening.
Yeah. So what was your keyboard setup back then, and what are you using now?
The keyboard setup then was a Wurlitzer piano, a clavinet, uh, an ARP string synthesizer, and the Prophet 5,
Okay.
which I bought. Well, actually, my Prophet 5 then was serial number 003,
Wow.
and I bought it. It was brought out to Australia by David Bowie's band, and then it crapped out, and they bought another one out, and I bought that one from Farrell's Keyboards, and they got it all running. And I also had a Roland SH5 serial number 0001. And that was a monophonic synthesizer I bought in Christchurch in 1974. Um, Sadly got stolen.
Yeah.
I have found another one, but it's not that same. Not that same number. But there, yeah, that was my keyboard rig for quite a while. Now I use a track player to play the sequence songs, which I did with a sequence. I had to tune every note. So songs like computer games, every note had to be tuned, and if it got knocked, it was frightening. Um, and I use a Roland keyboard that I can have a split keyboard on, so I can have three different. It's a long keyboard, and I can have three things going at once. It's not ideal, but the way we tour, the way bands tour these days, you're doing shows like Monday, which we love playing, and you're literally on stage 10 minutes after your gear's gone on stage, and you've just got to be mobile. It's like guerrilla playing, you just got to be ready to go.
Mm.
So I've learned the hard way to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. So you're playing WANSTOCK, which is mid-March.
That's right.
What else is Misex up to for the rest of 2025?
We're doing our own shows in May, and we're doing Monday again. Uh, there's other stuff happening later in the year, which has all been sort of thrown around at the moment. So I'd love to say we're doing this, and then we'll do our own shows again, probably in October. And there's the rumors of things happening in November, which I can't say because I don't really know the full story. But I'm happy when we do 20 or 30 shows a year. It just keeps it alive, keeps the spark there, and as long as I'm having a great time, and Steve Belby's having a great time. We've got a core of guys who, can play the Misex set, and they're all really great friends, and they're great players. And I always kind of wonder who's playing the combination of these two guys here. And every time we play, it's just a blast. We played on Saturday night, and we did 10 songs. It was just you come off stage completely high. Fantastic.
All right, Murray, it's been great to catch up, and we look forward to seeing you play soon.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much.